Russia has once again issued a nuclear threat to Ukraine and its Western allies in the fourth such dire nuke warning. Kremlin spokesperson Dmitry Peskov has said that Russia would resort to nuclear weapons only in the case of threat to existence of his country and not as a result of the current conflict with Ukraine. He added that Russia has a security concept that very clearly states that only when there is threat for existence of the state, it can actually use nuclear weapons to eliminate the threat for existence of the country. Now, Russia has issued nuclear threats in the past as well. Amid a full-scale military assault on Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin ordered Russia's nuclear warhead to be placed on high alert.
Dear colleagues, as you can see, not only do Western countries take unfriendly measures against our country in the economic dimension, I mean the illegal sanctions that everyone knows about very well, but also the top officials of leading NATO countries allow themselves to make aggressive statements with regards to our country. That is why I ordered Defense Minister and Chief of General Staff to put Russian Army deterrence forces on high combat alert.
Ukraine possesses Soviet technologies and the means to deliver such weapons. We cannot ignore that real danger. Let me assure you, as a responsible member of the international community committed to its obligations to non-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, Russia is taking every possible measure to prevent Ukraine getting nuclear weapons and respective technologies.
We have a security concept that very clearly states that only when there is a threat for existence of the state in our country, we can use and we will actually use nuclear weapons to eliminate the threat for the existence of our country.
Now, here's a quick look at past nuclear threats by Russia from President Putin to his top aides. Russia brandishing nuclear arsenal in a bid to blackmail the world.
Russia is turning up the heat. The Putin administration is not shying away from dangling the nuke threat. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has warned a third world war would be nuclear and destructive and claims Ukraine will not be allowed to acquire nuclear weapons.
Ukraine possesses Soviet technologies and the means to deliver nuclear weapons. We cannot ignore the real danger. Let me assure you, a responsible member of the international community committed to its obligations to non-proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, Russia is taking every possible measure to prevent Ukraine from getting nuclear weapons and respective technologies.
Several nations have condemned the nuclear threat dropped by Russia.
Russia has raised the alert level of the preparation of the nuclear deterrence units, which is a dangerous act that may lead to further destabilization of the situations.
By enhancing the alert status of its nuclear forces, Russia has taken another escalatory and irresponsible step.
Lavrov's nuclear saber rattling is not the first time Russia has issued such threats. 4 days into the war on Ukraine, Russian President Vladimir Putin had put nuclear deterrent forces on high alert.
Dear colleagues, as you can see, not only Western countries take unfriendly measures against our country. In the economic dimension, I mean the illegal sanctions that everyone knows about very well. But the top officials of leading NATO countries allow themselves to make aggressive statements with regard to our country. That is why I ordered Defense Minister and Chief of General Staff to put Russian Army deterrence forces on high alert.
Only the US, Russia and China have intercontinental ballistic missiles. And Russia has many options when it comes to delivery of nuclear weapons. Topol-M is one of the most recent intercontinental ballistic missiles to be deployed by Russia. It is the first to be developed after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. The RSM-56 Bulava is a submarine-launched ballistic missile developed for the Russian Navy. It was deployed in 2013 on the new Bore class of nuclear submarines. Kinzhal is a hypersonic cruise missile. It has a claimed range of more than 2,000 kilometers and an ability to perform evasive maneuvers at every stage of its fight. Russia has the world's largest stockpile of nuclear weapons. Moscow has over 6,000 nuclear weapons, 675 more than the United States. Whereas China has 350, Britain 225, France 300 and India 150. As Putin bares his nuclear fangs, the West has responded with calm. The US and allies have so far stuck to sanctions on Russian economy. Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, let me quickly cut across to Gaurav Sawant, who's joining us live right from the war-torn country, Ukraine. He is bringing us all those factual reports on ground, risking his own life. Gaurav, thank you very much for joining us. If you can give us an understanding on day 34, what's the situation right behind you? What's been the progress of Russian troops to push back, or Ukrainian troops to push back some of those Russian armies right along the suburb regions of Kyiv?
So right now we come to you from the heart of Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. We are in Krishyatik, and this is the business center. When you look around, all you see are measures to ensure that the Russian forces are unable to move forward in terms of protection of this place. But in the past 12 hours, there's been an eerie calm all around Kyiv, not just the capital Kyiv, but also in the areas around. The Russian forces apparently, and that is what the defense ministry here insists, that they've been successful in pushing back the Russians from Irpin and Bucha. However, civilians are not being allowed to return home just as yet. We are actually on our way to that region to be able to report from ground to tell you how the Ukrainian forces are moving forward inch by inch, and they insist that they've been able to stall the Russian reinforcements from coming in, and that is why the Russians have had to pull back in Irpin and Bucha. But this is a claim being made by the Ukrainian forces. No missile firing, no rocket firing in Kyiv, no air raid sirens, because this is an area where you almost constantly hear those air raid sirens. However, it's a different story in the east and the south. Mariupol, we are told, is being heavily targeted by the Russians, and that's where, Nabila, there are pitched battles being fought virtually for the control of every street and bylane.
Right, Gaurav, give us a sense of what's around you. If you can show us how the capital city of Kyiv looks like today on day 34. You're saying that it's rather safe for now, but just yesterday you yourself, Rajesh as well, gave us an understanding on how there was constant firing. There was in fact shelling that you could hear from a distance in the capital city of Kyiv. What's behind you? Please do show us.
So let me show you this place. This is the capital of Ukraine. This is Kyiv. And look at this city. In front of us, this is the business center. The business center is completely abandoned and closed. That's a big market. That market is shut, and it's been that way all along. Now, right in front of you, you see a lot of sandbags and security barricades. Now, these hedgehogs, their numbers have increased. The aim is to stall the advance of the Russian tanks in this area. So just look around. It's abandoned. The only cars that you see on the road are that of either security forces or government officials. For example, the car that's going right in front is a government officer's car with that blue and yellow flag colors taped to it. The other car, only blue and yellow flag cars are permitted at this point of time. Only security force personnel are moving around, and you see a lot of army and militia deployed. These sandbags are at the entrance of every bunker. The moment there's an air raid siren, everyone just rushes into a bunker for their own security. So that's the scenario right now in the heart of Ukraine's capital, Kyiv. If you move to the suburbs, in the suburbs, again, while you see a lot of security, you also see most people have abandoned their homes and left. Irpin and Bucha, the suburbs where intense fighting had taken place, Nabila, well, that suburb has been reduced to rubble. That's where we are heading as of now. If I were to talk about the eastern part of the country, which is where the pitched battles are taking place, that is where the real death and destruction is being reported even today. But as far as Irpin and Bucha were concerned, yesterday the firing and shelling that we were seeing were the Ukrainian forces striking back at Russian strongholds. That is where Ukraine's army claims that they've been successful in pushing back the Russians. But these pitched battles, they keep continuing, for the control of access to Kyiv and ultimately the capital Kyiv. But the defense ministry officials we were speaking to are extremely confident, given the weapons and systems they have, they will be able to stall the Russian advance for quite some time. They still look for additional reinforcements, thinking that if talks that are happening today in Turkey, if these talks do not succeed, then they're in for the long haul.
Gaurav, we can see that this is 1 month in counting, but doesn't seem like Russia showing any signs of de-escalation. So Ukraine clearly should ideally be preparing for a long haul, at least from what we see here. Russia in no mood to budge. Gaurav, thank you very much. A quick word from Rajesh on this. Rajesh, we just showed our viewers a video of Ukrainian forces putting up stiff resistance, almost firing a Javelin missile on a Russian tank. We saw them celebrating. So these are really small moments that Ukrainian forces are living by as they show so much courage and valiantly fight for their country. Is it enough what Ukraine has in their arsenal to really fight back and sustain their defense in the face of this kind of sophisticated ammunition that Russia boasts of?
Look, Nabila, the war is fought at different levels. For a country, you see the overall macro picture. But for battalions, for companies, for squads fighting on ground, every small victory, even a tank being destroyed by, say, a squad or by a platoon, it's a big, big achievement for them. Tank is a very, very versatile and very potent weapon which can destroy, and which has kind of ammunition it carries. It can even destroy the whole battalions. But for a company or a squad of people able to destroy a tank, a Russian tank, that too is a big moment for those people. Imagine those people on ground, those soldiers. For them, it's a big victory which they have achieved. On macro level, we see just one tank, but for them, it's a big victory. That's how soldiers see things on ground. As far as the potency of Ukrainian anti-aircraft or anti-tank weapons or capabilities concerned, Ukraine is still an underdog. I mean, they do not have enough weapons, enough missiles, and that is why they've been requesting every day. Zelensky said they need almost 1,000 tanks and 1,000 missiles every day from West, which he knows he will not get. And if he doesn't get that, for them to sustain this war beyond a few days in an effective manner will be very, very difficult. Nabila.
But at a time like this, we're seeing the 6th round of talks between the two countries finally face-to-face. But so long, there has been no headway. Is there any hope pinned on this 6th round of talk at all? Because we hear Zelensky calling the West, saying that they lack spine, etc. At a time like this, Ukraine now almost in a mood to step down on their demands. That's what we hear. Give us the facts.
Look, Nabila, President Zelensky and Ukraine has tried everything possible, from trying to evoke sentiments in the public, by creating public opinion in the Western countries, by addressing the parliaments, by speaking to the head of states of all Western states, Israel, everywhere. They have requested everyone for more help on ground, not just money and obsolete weapons, but the latest state-of-art weapons, and maybe boots on ground, maybe for closing the airspace of Ukraine. But none of these things have materialized. And that's the reason that we see the softening of stance on part of Zelensky and issuing statements like the West has no spine, because he somehow wants to push them into this war. He wants that West should become a partner of Ukraine in this war against Russia. And that's the reason he's been saying again and again that Ukraine is not last country. After that, it will be Poland and Baltic states and other NATO states. And he's been trying to his best to drag West by any means into this conflict, which the West refuses to do. And we see in Turkey today, when these two countries talk, I do not think much will happen out of this, because as Zelensky's stand has been hardening and then softening, there is no straight line in his thought process as far as these talks are concerned. And Russia, on its part, will not budge from his demand of Crimea and Donbass. So I do not see much coming out of these talks in Turkey today. Nabila.
You know, in that case, where do you see this war heading towards? What direction is it really taking? Trying to analyze the situation post 34 days, it doesn't appear that that Russian troops are going to back off until Ukraine agrees to the demands put forth by Kremlin. Where do you see this headed at all?
Look, Nabila, it's my personal opinion, but whatever signals I've got from ground, whatever I have studied, what I've tried to analyze, is that Russia will right now go for ground offensive, take a complete Donbass, take complete east of Ukraine, and I think finally they'll continue their military operations till the time they have the entire territory up till river Dnipro under their control, and then there will be some kind of a frozen conflict. This conflict will freeze after that, Russia controlling the entire territory east of your river Dnipro, and Ukraine controlling the territory west of river Dnipro, and I think that is the time the fighting will stop, and it will be like a frozen conflict which will keep going on till the time West does not interfere in some way to get some kind of solution through negotiations. Nabila.
Well, in that case, Rajesh, from what I understand from you, negotiations is the only key to end this war at the earliest. The 6th round of talks that's going to be happening today in Turkey. Let's hope there's some headway. Rajesh, thank you very much. I really request you to stay safe and out of danger. Now, Russia continues its onslaught against Ukraine on day 34 as well. Major cities of Ukraine, including the port city of Mariupol, Lviv and Kyiv, continue to remain the worst hit, continuing to face intense Russian attack while citizens continue to flee the country for their lives. Ukraine continues to fight back, of course, and protect their land. Ukrainian forces have seized back full control of town of Irpin, a few miles from Kyiv. The area's mayor has said that Irpin had been liberated and that Russian soldiers were offering to surrender. In fact, Ukrainian forces in the Donetsk and Luhansk regions repulsed 7 enemy attacks in 24 hours. Its soldiers destroyed 12 tanks, 10 infantry fighting vehicles and 3 vehicles. In fact, Russian army has also reportedly suffered losses in manpower.
Today, we have good news. Our defenders are advancing in the Kyiv region, regaining control over Ukrainian territory. Irpin was liberated. Well done. I am grateful to everyone who worked for this result. The occupiers are being pushed away from Kyiv. However, it is too early to talk about secure situation in the parts of our region. The fighting continues. This is ruthless war against our nation, against our people, against our children. As of today, 143 children are known to have died. Russian troops control the north of Kyiv region. We have the resources and manpower. They are trying to restore the destroyed units. The level of the losses, even at 90%, is not an argument for them to stop. Hundreds and hundreds of units of burned and abandoned enemy equipment do not convince them that this will happen to everyone. Chernihiv, Sumy, Kharkiv, Donbass, southern Ukraine. The situation everywhere remains tense and very difficult.
Now, my colleague Gaurav Sawant brings us this report from the capital city of Kyiv with foreign fighters and medical teams who are entering the conflict zone. The group belonged to International Division of Foreign Volunteers in this war zone, only to help Ukraine in this fight. Let's have a look.
You're from California, I believe, and you were with the U.S. Navy.
That's correct. I was with the United States Navy for 5 years.
For 5 years. And what brings you to Kyiv?
I came to help the people of Ukraine in any way that I can and provide support with whatever my skill set can offer.
And that includes combat?
Eventually it does. For right now, I'm working solely in a humanitarian work. But eventually, yes, I do intend on joining a military group.
Right. Also with us is Captain Finney leading this group. Captain Finney, what kind of assistance are you providing?
So we are attached with the International Division of Foreign Volunteers who've come to fight for the freedom of Ukraine. We have ambulances, we have drones, and we provide the support to the recaptured villages from the enemy.
So what kind of support do you provide?
We have ambulances, we bring food, we bring first aid, we take care of the cats and dogs, we take care of people who have been wounded and need our help, and we provide also material support, night vision glasses, plate carriers, plates, we do everything.
Medical drones, I believe?
Yes, we do. We do drone. We have ambulances. Every ambulance has a drone.
The port city of Mariupol has been bustling for over 500,000 people who are living there. That town now completely turning into a ghost town. Relentless bombardments by Russian forces has destroyed the city of Mariupol. Moscow has bombed residential areas, schools and hospitals in the port city since the invasion. Ukraine now claims that nearly 5,000 people have been killed in the second largest city of Ukraine. Blocked by shelling, Mariupol is also running out of water and food supplies. Humanitarian aid is finding it difficult to get into and out of that city. Many roads are now inaccessible due to a combination of mines and burnt out military equipment. According to Mariupol mayor, about 90% of buildings in the city has been damaged and about 40% had been completely destroyed. While 140,000 civilians have managed to escape from the besieged Mariupol, another 170,000 are still trapped there, many of them desperately waiting to leave that town.
Маріуполь так і залишається заблокованим. Російські війська не дали організувати сьогодні жодного гуманітарного коридору, не дали тишу. Маріуполь так і залишається заблокованим. Російські війська не дали організувати сьогодні жодного гуманітарного коридору, не дали тишу.
Обстріли
that we see has been completely badgered by Russian forces. It's the 34th day in Russia. They're showing no signs of de-escalation, especially the port city of Mariupol, that they're inching closer towards almost 80% of that port city has now been captured by Russian forces, but no declaration on that yet coming in. Now, when we, of course, take a look at the port city of Mariupol, we're looking at heavy bombardment that continues on the 34th day as well. The question that arises here is, why is Putin really so obsessed with Mariupol? Of course, what we know here is that Mariupol is the gateway to the Sea of Azov. This is one of the reasons why Putin has been quite obsessed and has been bombarding the port town of Mariupol. We're also looking at Putin, who's trying to control Mariupol because it has domination over the Sea of Azov. Again, a very strategic location for Russia to push its forces. Also, what we know is that Mariupol is just about 50 kilometers from Russian border. And this all the more becomes important for them to take control. And just 85 kilometers from Russian-held Donetsk and Luhansk region, again, why Mariupol becomes significant. Of course, Putin wants Ukraine to surrender Mariupol, but this hasn't happened so far. We're looking at Ukraine there trying to resist Russian forces in that port town. And this port city itself will really help Putin extend dominance over Crimea. That's something that Putin has been looking forward to. And this port city has also been quite brutally assaulted only so that Putin can take control. War crimes has been carried out extensively. Several residential establishments that has been bombarded. All right, now the battle for the port city of Mariupol really intensifying. And according to reports, the Azov battalion, the infamous, which is infamous for war crimes, is now defending Ukraine's second largest city from Russian forces. Neo-Nazi defending the city of Mariupol has really raised questions on Ukraine's spirited defense. Here's a quick detailed report.
Battered, bruised, besieged. After relentless Russian bombardment and civilian deaths, Ukraine's second-largest city of Mariupol is on the edge, but still holding fort. Moscow has launched an all-out war to capture the city, which can act as the bridge between Donbass and Crimea, two regions that are already under Russian control. According to reports from the ground, Mariupol is mainly being defended by Ukraine's Azov battalion, a unit infamous for war crimes and torture tactics. This video was released by the Azov battalion last week. The footage appears to show tanks firing down a street in Mariupol. The Azov claims to have destroyed 3 Russian armored vehicles and 4 infantry fighting vehicles. Mariupol is also where the battalion has set up its headquarters. The Azov Special Operations Detachment is a right-wing neo-Nazi band of soldiers. A volunteer militia, the Azov was incorporated into the National Guard of Ukraine in November 2014 after recapturing Mariupol from pro-Russian separatists. Russian President Vladimir Putin has spoken of the presence of such units within the Ukrainian military to justify his war.
We simply don't have any other choice to protect our people, and we'll have to use the only available choice that we will use today. The circumstances require immediate, resolute action. People's republics of the Donbass have requested assistance from Russia. In this regard, in line with Article 51.7 of the UN Charter, with the authorization of the Parliament of Russia, and in exercising the Treaty on Friendship and Mutual Assistance with the Donetsk People's Republics and the Lugansk People's Republics, I've taken the decision to conduct a special military operation. Its purpose is to protect people who have been subject to abuse and genocide by the Kyiv regime for 8 years. And to do this, we will strive to demilitarize and denazify Ukraine, and also bring to justice those who have committed numerous bloody crimes against civilians, including citizens of the Russian Federation.
Meanwhile, Russian President Vladimir Putin's ally and Chechen president and warlord Ramzan Kadyrov has arrived in Mariupol, where Chechen fighters have been fighting for the Russians. Now, Kadyrov, who is known to be a brutal tyrant, has been accused of several human rights violations. He is, in fact, the dreaded Chechen leader. Let's take a look at this report on how he's really aiding Russia in this war.
Ramzan Kadyrov, the man who rules Chechnya with an iron fist, handpicked by Vladimir Putin for the top job. Someone who wrestles crocodiles with bare hands. Known as Putin's attack dog, Kadyrov has landed in the near-fallen city of Mariupol, where the dreaded Chechen fighters continue their deadly assault. The Chechen warlord is likely to finalize the strategy for his fighters in Mariupol. Kadyrov portrays a macho image of himself, frequently posing with guns and military garb. He has never shied away from flaunting his opulent wealth. A known tyrant who stops at nothing. The Chechen president has been accused of a wide array of human rights violations under his rule. Kadyrov has been accused of ordering torture and extrajudicial killings, along with a string of assassinations of Russian journalists and human rights activists. A number of his Chechen critics who sought asylum abroad were attacked or killed even on foreign soil. Kadyrov imposes regression through violence in Chechnya, where he ordered women to be shot at with paintballs for not observing the Islamic dress code, even urging men to block their wives from using WhatsApp. The Chechen leader also backs polygamy and in the past has ordered purges against homosexuals, going on to claim there is no homosexual person in Chechnya. Ramzan Kadyrov is one of Kremlin's deadliest weapons, and Putin has now decided to unleash Kadyrov on Ukraine. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, Russian President Vladimir Putin has hit out at Ukrainian counterpart Volodymyr Zelenskyy soon after getting a peace overture from Kyiv. Putin, who has shown open disdain for Zelenskyy in the past, now threatens to thrash him. Reports said that the Russian oligarch and official peacemaker Roman Abramovich had presented President Putin with a handwritten note from Zelenskyy. On receiving that handwritten note, Zelenskyy had detailed the war-hit country's peace terms. Putin reportedly responded, and I quote, saying, "Tell him I will thrash him." Russia recently turned down a proposal for one-on-one talks between Putin and Zelenskyy to end this conflict, saying any talks will be possible only after key issues are settled. Earlier, sanctioned Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich had accepted Ukraine's request to help in negotiations to bring an end to this war, which has now entered 34th day, which began on 24th of February. Now, sanctioned Russian oligarch Roman Abramovich, who has been playing peacemaker between Russia and Ukraine, was poisoned, according to American newspaper, The Wall Street Journal. Now, the Chelsea owner has been dividing his time between Istanbul, Moscow and Kyiv in a bid to get sanctions leveled against him lifted. Let's have a look at what went by.
Roman Abramovich, the Russian oligarch who took part in peace talks in Ukraine, allegedly became target of an attack during the negotiations. The Wall Street Journal has claimed the sanctioned Russian tycoon and at least 2 Ukrainian negotiators suffered a suspected bout of poisoning. The report adds that the condition of the victims has since then improved and their lives are out of danger. According to reports in the Western media, the oligarch had flown from Turkey to Russia, but met Zelenskyy in Kyiv on his way. The billionaire then flew to Moscow with a handwritten note from the Ukrainian president and delivered it to Putin. The letter reportedly outlined Kyiv's conditions for the end of war, which Putin trashed. Abramovich then returned to Istanbul and informed Ukrainians of Putin's reaction. The alleged poisoning of Abramovich and other negotiators is being seen by Western news agencies like AFP as a bid to sabotage peace talks. With the two sides now negotiating directly, there are many questions related to Abramovich that remain unanswered. Has Abramovich fallen out of favor with Putin? Will the West reward Abramovich by lifting the sanctions on him? Or will Abramovich's proximity to Putin continue to impact him? The sanctions imposed by the West have already cost Abramovich quite a fortune. He has had to let go of his prized possession, Chelsea Football Club. Abramovich's attempt at peacemaking was being seen by his critics as a bid to clear sanctions slapped on him. Bureau Report, India Today.
Meanwhile, wealthy Russians are now pouring money into real estate in Turkey and the United Arab Emirates, seeking financial haven in the wake of Moscow's invasion of Ukraine and Western sanctions, according to many property companies. Here's more on that.
Wealthy Russians have poured money into real estate in the United Arab Emirates and Turkey. That's according to some property firms in the region. It comes as Western sanctions hit Russia hard over the conflict in Ukraine. Tiago Caldas is CEO of Dubai firm Modern Living. He's hired 3 Russian-speaking agents due to higher demand.
Russians are already used to Dubai. They just kept coming more. Yeah, obviously the number of Russians who get interested in the market here now is much more than, I would say, 2 months ago or 3 months ago.
Both Turkey and the UAE have criticised Russia's invasion, but they still have good ties with Moscow. They also both still operate direct flights, offering a route out for Russians with their money. Caldas says wealthy buyers seemed to be making preparations and moving their money out of Russia even before the war began. Buying property in Turkey can also be a way to get a passport from the country, while in the UAE it can be a way to earn a residency visa.
Right in the beginning of the invasion of Ukraine, we launched a campaign in the region. And the number of people that contacted us, it was, I would say, at least 10 times higher than it usually would be for such type of campaign.
In February, Russians bought 509 houses in Turkey, almost double the number of last year, according to the country's statistics office. Real estate agents expect the number to grow further both there and in the UAE.